and welcome to winemastery.co.uk. My name is John Lightfoot and this is
John Murphy.
And we're here to tell you about wine, hopefully help you find a wine, if not wines, that you will absolutely love. And on this occasion, we are tasting a wine from South Africa. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon with Malbec blend. It's from a brand called, or label called Bosman. I've not heard of them before.
Me neither, no.
So I'd be really interested to... Now, South Africa have had winemakers have had a really bad time of it, haven't they? Well, because of COVID, they first of all, they weren't allowed to export. And then they actually, in South Africa, banned South alcohol, so they weren't actually able to sell their wines in South Africa either, which meant that obviously their workers, they couldn't afford to pay their workers, and their workers literally was starving. So,
John, you amaze me. You amaze me because I did not know this. How did you know this?
I've just seen reports about it.
Okay, so
yeah.
I didn't even know they weren't allowed to sell in South Africa. Alcohol consumption was not allowed.
In COVID, no, it was all shut down. They weren't allowed. I don't know why, but the government, that's what they did. And so obviously vineyards were having a really poor time. And I read about some vineyards, literally borrowing money to try and keep their people on the breadline, so at least they weren't starving to death. So
that's really strange because over in this country, probably alcohol sales went through the roof, didn't they?
Yeah, because everyone was at home and couldn't do anything. They were on furlough, so they were drinking, enjoying the good life. If being restricted to your house is the good life, but but over there it was a whole different story. And obviously, I imagine some vineyards didn't make it through. So
no, if that's the case, then yeah, you're right.
So if that alone is a reason to support South African wines.
I learn something every single time, John. Every single time. Thank you.
No, not at all. Not at all. So, shall we have a look at the colour of this one and see what it's like?
And again, this is, over the last few videos I've done, I've noticed that we're finding things which I've never had. And this is no exception. A Cabernet Sauvignon with Malbec blend. I don't even think I've seen a Malbec, just single varietal from South Africa. So this, again, is a new territory for me, John. Which is fine. I'm all good with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we've got the nice...
Part of the fun of wine, isn't it? There's so much new stuff to still, no matter how long you're in it.
Definitely. Yes. There's always something new. Always something to be had. That's why we're doing this. Yeah, it's a nice colour. Nice colour. It's not quite as deep and as rich as I expected from a Malbec. Not even from a Malbec. Because my understanding of Malbec is quite a thick, powerful looking kind of wine. So it doesn't quite have that. However, let's have a go on the nose.
It's quite light, isn't it?
It's almost. It reminds me. But smelling that, I'm not smelling Cab Sauv. I'm not smelling
Malbec.
No. This is more akin to almost like a Pinotage. Maybe in my mind I'm thinking, because we're on a South African wine, I'm thinking in my mind South African style, because that is.
Well, maybe Pinotage, obviously, South Africa, but maybe obviously the nutrients, the ground of the earth is going to influence the grapes, and maybe it's a crossover in terms of.
Perhaps that. Again, that for me would not be recognisable as a Cabernet Sauvignon or a Merlot, let alone the two together.
Well, it's not a Merlot, it hasn't got...
Malbec. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for reminding me.
It begins with an M, though.
It did. That started off well. So let's have a go.
Okay. Now, I have to say that just before we tasted this, we tasted another wine at $5.75, Cabernet Sauvignon, and this one is priced at £9. And I have to say, the $5.75 one was doing a lot more for me than this.
Yes, I 100% concur. That might kind of sway us a little bit, because it's £9. It's not overly expensive, but from what I'm tasting in that, number one, it's not very Cabernet Sauvignon-esque. Number two, the tannins are quite in your face with it. You get a little bit of raspberry in there, but that's not, I expect more. And say from that, we won't try prior to this at that price of $5.75, which really, without even knowing the price, I think, oh yeah, this is really good. We're enjoying this is Cabernet Sauvignon, this is what we want from it. To go to this, which is just slightly pulled back and is more expensive. I think that's going to affect my judgment, John, today.
Yeah, it is. It is mine, and you know, maybe if we'd had something else, but I don't think so. I mean, it is, for me, it's a little bit thin.
Yeah, no, well, we did have a little bit of a gin and tonic to clean the palate, haven't we?
did.
So it's not.
Yeah, it's not like the other one is affecting this. No.
And like you say, when you say a little bit thin, I'd go one step further and say it's quite a lot thin.
Right, it's very thin. Yeah.
Once the initial, and you're struggling, I'm struggling there to get that raspberry in there. It's there, but it's very slight, and that's like, you have to work at that, and I don't think I'd want to make the effort to work at it.
No, it's very fleeting, isn't it? It's just bringing the air in the mouth there, and it's, oh yeah, I've got your raspberry, and then it's just gone, yeah. And obviously, in total, the taste, the length isn't very good.
No, it's just leaving it with the tannins in there, which is.
I think that, I mean, obviously, this would be a style that some people will love. It will be just the right sort of balance for them, and they will enjoy it. I think that one of the comments you've made before about this sort of wine is that it probably is the wrong one for people to start with.
Definitely, if you were starting on your red wine journey, this would not be the red wine to try to begin with, because I think this has got a lot of what people don't like in a red wine. That sounds a bit odd, but you know, the tannins in there, it's fairly thin. It's not a lot going for it, not a lot of fruit. So there are 100 different wines I'd choose over this one if you were starting on a red wine journey. I think this would put a lot of people off. Because a lot of people have an idea of what red wine tasted like, and you know, as youngsters they may have had a glass of wine which was too powerful for them, and if they were to come and try that, I think it would just send them straight back down that road. Yeah.
As I say, there will be people though that this will be, you know, their acquired taste, and they will really enjoy it. Okay, so what would we, first of all, before you onto the score, what would we pair this with?
Cheese wise, I'm going from a completely different angle. So you need something that counterbalances the tannins in there, and you need something that's going to fill the hole that's not filling. So I said something like the Comte the French. I've recommended this before. It's like a French cheddar style, is maybe doing it an injustice, but it's a lot sweeter and nuttier, and I think that sweetness and nuttiness might carry that off and get rid of the tannins and just pull a little bit more out of that wine.
Yeah, now this is going to seem really strange, I think, but I don't think it would be, obviously Malbec you tend to think of steak, so the Cabernet Malbec part.
Yeah.
But actually, the thing that I would say that I'd probably try to have this with, if I was to try and select something, is a meat pie. So with the pastry, I think that would help offset the tannins on this, but the meat would still be there, and the gravy in that. And so I would say a meat pie.
A nice meaty pie. I like it. I again now it's done that thing to me again. Whenever we talk, I'm always happy to recommend the cheese, but when you start talking about the food, I think, yeah, you're right. I could really get stuck into that.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Meat pie, spot on.
Fantastic. So score.
I don't know whether the last Cabernet Sauvignon we had has kind of affected what I'm going to score it, but I don't think it has. I think I'm fairly confident in saying, regardless of what we've tried before or whatnot, if I were to try that, I'd be pulling that down to about 72.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the number 73 popped into my head, so I'll stick with that. I mean, I wouldn't argue with 72. You know, when you said 72, I said 73 come in my head, and when you said 72, oh yeah, should it be 72? But 73 was what popped into my head.
It's by far, you know, it's not a bad wine by far, but you're looking at all the things we do look at in the videos here. I reckon 72 is a very fair.
Yeah, I do. I don't think. Yeah, but again, you know, you may taste it, you may think it's 100. It is down to personal taste. We can only tell you what we are getting from it. So, well, again, if you've had this wine and you like it and disagree with us, please let us know. If you've any other recommendations of Cabernet Sauvignons and Malbec blends, then also let us know. And so, until our next video, when we might be reviewing a wine you've recommended, we'll see you there.
Chin chin.
Chin chin.